Hey, thanks for stopping by. My name is Tyler, and today I have a story for you guys. This one comes from back when I was in high school, about 2 years ago, almost on the day actually. And it is back when I failed my Cloud Practitioner by AWS, that certification test. As you can see, I did go and get it again, but I want to talk about when I failed it the first time because let me tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. It was really bad. So let's kind of bring it back a little bit. So the reason this came up is my senior project was on cloud. My product was basically to put a couple services together that they would send you an email when like an EC2 started up. So that was my project, and my mentor actually encouraged me to go and look into getting the cloud practitioner. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll take a look. And I had no idea what like tech certifications were. I didn't know the difficulty of the tests. I didn't know how to study for them at all. So, how old was I? I was probably 17 because I know I must have been 18 because I'm 20 now. I turned 20 like 2 weeks ago. I was probably 18, maybe I was 17, I'm not sure. But little 18-year-old me was like, okay, I let's do it. And so rather than going to a source like, Udemy or similar sites, I decided I would get my study resources from Quizlet. Of course, why wouldn't you? Okay, Tyler from editing this video. Really quick, I want to go over what Quizlet is because I realized I kind of skipped over it. And for those of you that aren't familiar, I think it would be helpful to understand it a bit more. So Quizlet is just a place where you can make flashcard decks. I know recently they've added more features, but for the sake of this video, it's basically just a hub for flashcard decks. So like if you're learning Spanish, one side of the card might say hola and the other side might say hi. And that is the only feature I used from Quizlet while studying. So that being said, enjoy the rest of the video. You. So over the course of a month, maybe a month and a half, I had this Quizlet deck, and it was like 400 cards long on what the services in AWS were. And at first, that sounds great. It's like, cool, it's like flashcards to what each service does and where they can be implemented. Not really the case. So, what ended up happening was I went through this deck, and I don't know if I did it consciously or not. I don't think I did. But what ended up happening was I just memorized the Quizlet deck. I didn't actually really memorize the services as much as I memorized keywords and how to match them to their like lambda and its definition on like the Quizlet like flashcard. So I study it for like a month and a half ish, and I get to a point where I'm able to go through this Quizlet deck and get like a 95%, like the majority of the time. So I was like, oh, well then I must be ready. We don't we don't need to take a practice test. That'd be silly. We don't need to do that. We did need to do that. But I didn't. So at first I was going to go and take the test online. And I remember I bought my exam voucher and I was all amped up trying to find a place to take my test. And once again, a very intelligent maneuver from me, I didn't check any of the system requirements for what like the Pearson VUE software needed. So it's like 10-15 minutes away from my test and I'm getting like the proprietary browser installed and trying to get my computer to a point where it will let me take the test. And I can't. Like it was like the calculator or something. There was something really weird that it wanted me to like forcefully uninstall and my computer just would not do it. And so this first exam, I didn't even get to take. I paid $100 for this exam voucher. Didn't even get to take it because I couldn't get my computer into a state where it would let me test. And keep in mind, this is when I was brand new to all things IT. Like, if you asked me to go find a exe file to start up an application in my file explorer, no idea. Wouldn't have been able to do it. So that's about the technical level I was at. So this first exam voucher I bought was a complete waste of $100, and that was pretty irritating to me. So that honestly should have been a sign that I wasn't ready, and I probably should have rethought my choices. But I didn't, and I went ahead and bought another exam voucher. This one was for an in-person exam, and I think I gave myself like 2 or 3 weeks out. So those like 2 3 weeks, rather than looking at other sources like I should have been doing, I just stuck to this freaking Quizlet deck and just kept going through this Quizlet deck, and I literally had like memorized all of the flashcards. So they were doing nothing at all for me. Um, so the lack of proper studying is absolutely what caused me to fail this test. I just like flew this little bracelet I was playing with, but anyway, the lack of proper studying for the certification test is absolutely what caused me to fail it, because I just had like no idea what I was doing, like I said. So anyway, we get to the exam day, and this exam center was like one of the scariest places I've ever been. Like I walk in, and one of the first things the like receptionist told me was, "Hey, just a heads up, the audio and video in this room is being recorded right now." I was like, "Okay." It was a big testing center. I mean, like their room with like testing computers set up, it must have been like 50 computers. It was super intimidating. And I mean, like they had multiple people that you had to talk to before your exam. It's like you had the front desk lady that did the paperwork, and then you'd go back to another desk to get your picture taken, and then you go into the exam center. Not a fan. Like, very anxiety inducing testing environment. So I have not been back to that one. I have a favorite testing center I go to now. So anyway, I get back to the testing room, and I fire open this test, and like I just remember going through the problems, and I had like almost no idea. Like it was I knew from like question 5 onward that I was not going to pass that test. Like there were some questions that I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that one. I'm familiar with that service." But the majority of them, no idea. I don't know why, but I was still clinging on to this hope that I was gonna pass. And of course, I finished my test. I spent like maybe 20 minutes in that testing room because it was that bad. Like I would read a question and I'd be like, I do not at all know the answer to this question, because obviously using a Quizlet deck to study for the cloud practitioner is not going to fly. Like the cloud practitioner is not the most technically complicated certification out there, but it's also not like a throwaway certification. You have to put some thought into studying for it, which I did not. So I get to the end screen and I failed. Looking back, not surprisingly, I remember I was actually, weirdly enough, I was kind of close to passing. I don't remember. I don't think I was that far off. I think I was at like a 600, like 80 or something, and you need like a 720 or something similar to pass. But yeah, so I failed that test, and I remember I felt so dumb because I was like, I really thought I had this one in the bag. Like I truly thought I had studied enough, and clearly I had not. Like, man, I left the testing center and I just sat in my car for like 15 minutes before I even drove off because I was like that disappointed. But after that, when I was studying for the Network Plus, I kind of realized, okay, I absolutely get why I failed, because using a single Quizlet deck to study for a tech certification is not what you want to be doing. Ask me how I know. So looking back, it wasn't surprising, but in the moment, it was super, super soul crushing. However, if I wanted like add a positive spin to this, it was kind of great to fail a test and feel that unprepared on my first one because it set the bar for how hard these tests were. Because now, when I study for certification, like as you can see, I have a few here. I do not schedule that exam until I am like pretty confident that I will not catastrophically fail it. Like obviously I can't know that I'll pass it, but I don't schedule these exams anymore until I'm very confident that there's a good chance I'll pass. And I do so much overkill when it comes to studying now, and I think part of that is a result of me failing the cloud practitioner cuz it was just like the worst. Like I had never been like more, I don't know if it's like angry, but like disappointed. I was like, man, I spent $100 and I just like not only did I fail it, like I had no idea what was going on. So yeah, that was an experience. So I wanted to make a quick video and just kind of share that because in the moment it was absolutely not fun, but looking back, it's kind of a fun story to tell just because I don't know what I was thinking. So with that being said, I think I'll wrap it up here. If you guys have any similar stories, please drop them in the comments below because I think they're super fun to share. But well, failing certifications isn't fun, but when they are a result of such poor study habits, it's kind of funny to look back. But if you guys have any similar stories, drop them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, of course, like and subscribe. You know I had to say it. But thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend.